What's up, yo? Welcome to Your One Life. I'm your host, Kim Young Kim, and I'm super glad to have you as a listener today. If you're new here, here's what this podcast is all about. This podcast is about teaching you from the greatest minds in the world, assisting you in all aspects of your life, and helping you relive your childhood memories, mainly the parts where a big-nosed Asian dude freestyle rap for you out of nowhere. Oh, you're saying that didn't happen in your childhood? Well, I'm pretty sure it's your parents to blame for that. All right, so here's a quick update about my letter that I wrote to my uncle. If you've been listening to previous episodes, I wrote a letter of gratitude to my uncle. I actually delivered that letter in person last week. What I did is I actually went to his house, I hung out with him and his wife, and I waited till the end of the visit to give it to him so he wouldn't read it in front of me. Because honestly, I feel really weird handing someone something that could make them cry in front of me, which I actually did once with a letter, but it was a breakup letter with my personal trainer. And I decided to read it for him with hopes that he wouldn't start crying. And here's how it went. I feel buff enough. Something. Thanks for the HGH. Why you so tan, bro? So 2 days ago, I get a phone call from a number I don't know, and I didn't answer it because these scammers keep scamming and keep calling me, and I actually forgot that my uncle had a cell phone. And I let it go to voicemail, and it turned out to be my uncle. And here's what he said. Come on, where is it? Play something. No, Charlie Gupta. Now, that's not what he said, but that's what Apple transcribed from his message in Korean. But what he actually said was that he's really grateful for the letter and let's meet up again soon. And I think that he has a plan to knight me with a broadsword and all. And you're wondering to yourself, can a first-generation Korean American knight his second-generation Korean American nephew? And I say, this is America. We do what we want. Now, today's episode is inspired by a quote that inspires me, not of what to do, but what not to do in my life. And it goes like this. Most men lead quiet lives of desperation and die with their songs still in them. Now, this is actually a misquote, taking parts of a quote from Henry David Thoreau and another quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes. But the combination of these two quotes creates a great message. And this happens sometimes in pop culture with movie quotes. For example, the first rule of Fight Club is nobody puts baby in a corner. But I do love this quote, most men lead quiet lives of desperation and die with their songs still in them. This is actually the greatest misquote of all time, besides my uncle's voicemail message to me. No, Charlie Gupta. Now, this quote reminds me of a meme. I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's a Venn diagram that has 3 circles. And the circles go like this. Things I like to do, things I'm good at, and things that make money. And the person who made the meme created a shape that avoided all 3 of these circles, and it says, things I do. Now, I totally laughed out loud when I saw that, but if you can't visualize the meme, I'll make sure to drop a link of it in the show notes so you can see it. Now, as funny as that meme is, what we want to do is we want to do the opposite of this. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Rudy, but if you haven't, it is one of the most inspiring sports movies ever made. Now, the movie is based on a true story of a guy named Rudy Rudiger who had no athletic talent whatsoever, but he had a dream to play for Notre Dame on their football team. All right, so here's a spoiler alert. Love the scene at the end of the movie where they're chanting Rudy's name for the coach to put him in the game. Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. Now, that's the energy we need in our own lives. Not necessarily the fans, but Rudy himself. Because he was a young fella who fought hard, he lived large, and he became a legend. And like Rudy, each of us needs to think of ourselves as the main character of the movie of our own lives. This is a little life hack that I use sometimes to get myself to do something, and it works. Now, a little while ago, I was briefly apprehended by the police. I was put in handcuffs and everything, and long story short, it was just a case of mistaken identity. Apparently, there was a Brad Pitt lookalike nearby committing crimes. Now, this is a true story. It's a wild story, and one I'll share with my grandkids one day. And this incident, although it was super scary at the time, it was a good wake up call for me because I asked myself, as wild as this mix up was, are my activities reflecting a life of adventure and stories that I want to tell my grandkids one day? And then I realized the answer to that question is definitely not enough. And I've also realized instead of being wrongfully arrested, I need to be rightfully arrested. Let's go. All right, so one of my creator role models, a guy named Seth Godin, was selling his new book, which is called This is Strategy, in packs of 6 if you wanted to buy 6 books. And I bought it because I love his work and I want to support it. And I'm thinking to start a book group of people who want to read this book together and think about the strategy that we want to implement in our own artistry, in our own work, and whatever we're doing individually. One nice little bonus about the box is that it came with a chocolate bar inside, which had a message on it that said this, quote, "When the person you could have been meets the person you are becoming, is it going to be a cause for celebration or heartbreak?" End quote. Yeah, that one, oof. Yeah, that one hits a nerve, right? Because what we want is we all want to celebrate. We all want to celebrate the person we are becoming and the person that we could potentially be. And the way we do this is to have good days consistently and a vision we're pursuing of a good life. And you want that good life. I want that good life. And our definitions of a good life is probably very different, but we all have a definition of the good life. And this episode will help you get there. So here's how this episode will be broken down. Now, the first part of this episode is all about your daily life, how to make your daily life one where you aren't living a life of quiet desperation, but you are ending up singing your song. And the second part is how to work towards a big picture of your good life that causes celebration of who you become and what you've done. All right, so when it comes to our daily life, one daily practice of singing your song is getting out of your shell. Now, my message to you is, I hope you dance. Now, whether or not you like that song, it has a great message to it, and we all need to dance. We all need to crank that soldier boy, maybe not physically, but metaphorically. Now, I used to go to this world-famous spoken word poetry venue in LA called the Poetry Lounge. The DJ of the place was a guy named Brother Gamil, also known as Gamil Hooper. Anyhow, as he would DJ, in between sets, he would often say, "You need to feel comfortable in your silly," which, as you can guess, means don't be afraid to let it all hang out and be your wild self. Now, how do you do this? How do you live authentically and be true to yourself? One option is to get drunk and video record yourself as you're drunk. That's when the real you will come out, and then you'll have an example to follow, which is your own example on how to act. You can also share your authentic self by posting this video on social media. Not everywhere, of course. Maybe just on LinkedIn. Now, a real tip is to find people who are authentically and unapologetically themselves and surround yourself with them. A few years ago, I actually accidentally stumbled into this as I got involved with a film community in Atlanta called KTL, which stands for Kick the Ladder. The gist of it is a bunch of folks who are current and aspiring filmmakers come together to collaborate with each other, and they create films together that are shown in front of a large group. And I've seen some amazing, amazing films and artistry through that group that even inspires me to this day. Anyhow, since I like writing comedy and I wanted to make films of my own videos of stuff I wrote, I got involved with them in summer of 2022, which was a time in my life where I was still isolating from people due to the pandemic. And at this time, I felt like a turtle who just went back into a shell and was hiding. Because honestly, COVID terrified me, and I had this huge fear of getting long COVID and having long-term effects that affected me cognitively and just losing abilities of being able to rap and do other things that I do. And this just scared me so much because all this is such a big part of my identity, and I would just feel super lost without it. And so, me before COVID, I was super outgoing. I was an extrovert to the max. People oftentimes would think I was drunk, and I would have to explain, no, this is just who I am. So, anyhow, during the first few years of COVID, I was extra cautious. I masked up everywhere I went. I avoided people, and I became a bit awkward, and I didn't know how to talk to people well. And real talk, I felt like I just lost my extroverted mojo. But going to KTL and being surrounded by people who are just authentically themselves, as artists oftentimes are, it helped me. It helped me to ease back into being me much quicker than I would have otherwise. And I feel like the actors and all the other folks there actually challenged me to lean even more into my authentic, wild self. Now, I personally haven't been involved with them for the last couple of years because podcasting has taken up all of my free time. But shout out to the folks at KTL. They're currently on hiatus from my understanding, but once they get geared back up, it is definitely something to check out if you are interested in filmmaking. And I'll make sure to share their contact info in the show notes, along with the link to the videos I made while I was there. Now, what else can you do to sing your song? Go and do things that make you come alive. One of my other favorite quotes goes like this: don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive and go do it. Because what the world needs is people who have come alive. And that's by Howard Thurman, a man who was actually a mentor to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Now, you already know what makes you come alive, but maybe you need some jogging of your memory. Now, Tim Ferriss, in one of his podcast episodes, shared an exercise of going through your past year and looking at things that pumped you up and also things that drained you. And what he said is, find the things that juiced you up and make sure to throw them on your calendar. For me, it was going to concerts, spending time at state and national parks, and pretending to be a ghost outside of my neighbor's window. I know it sounds weird, but it's the best idea I had to get her to relocate the car in her yard sitting on cinder blocks. But anyhow, I recommend this exercise of first finding things that bring you joy and then putting them on your schedule. Also, put yourself in a nurturing environment that will make you do the thing that you want to do but are hesitant to, because community is key. A lot like my experience at KTL, I had a similar experience at the Poetry Lounge, which I mentioned earlier in the episode. And this was years ago when I lived in LA. And what I did is I took a spoken word poetry class with an awesome poet who's actually named Poetry. And he's a super good dude with a really big heart. And if he's still teaching classes, I highly recommend that you take one with him. But anyhow, each week in our classes, we had to work on our writing. We had some weeks where we performed in front of each other. And it was a really positive environment for me to step on stage in front of people and perform. And through this class and through the positive peer pressure that was laid on me by my fellow classmates, beyond just performing in front of them, I actually got up on the main stage and performed spoken word for the first time. Come to think of it, this might have been my first major performance in general, besides freestyling in front of my friends and stuff like that. And what I came to realize through this whole experience is it's really not that bad getting up on stage. But I only realized that because of the environment that I was in, because it felt super daunting as a regular audience member at the lounge. Also, in order to sing your song, one thing you can do is always ask yourself this question: wouldn't it be crazy if I fill in the blank? Wouldn't it be crazy if I tried to use 2 coupons on the same item at Kroger, where shopping is forever? But yeah, we got to get a little crazy. We got to find adventures to go on daily, even if they're small. One thing I like to do is I like to say things that are awkward to other people in my head, and sometimes in real life. So recently I was at a coffee shop. I'm pretty sure I was working on my podcast that day, and I needed a break from the work that I was doing. And I thought to myself, wouldn't it be funny if I went up to people and I said, hey, I'm running a contest and I'm wondering if you can guess how many teeth I have. So I spotted a group and I just said, hey, you know what? Why not? Let's do this. And I went up to them. It was a group of 3 ladies. I'm thinking they were in their 50s, just like I like them. And I said to them, hey, y'all, I'm running a contest to see if any of you can guess how many teeth I have. And one lady in the group responded, how many teeth you have? And that's my British accent because she was from London. Actually, 2 of them were visiting from London. And she couldn't get over the shock of my question. You would have thought that I asked her how many bodies I have in my basement. She was so beside herself. And I just said, hey, look, I'm just trying out some comedy. And this is just a joke. And I was like, all right, well, I hope you enjoy visiting Atlanta. And why don't you just give me a random topic real quick? Now, side note, whenever someone is visiting from outside the country, I want to give them a freestyle rap memory from America. So I asked for the random topic, and one of them was like washing machines. Then I started freestyle rapping about washing machines. I think I said awesome and clean, boss in the scene. I don't know. I don't remember what I said, honestly. But as I was sitting there freestyle rapping, the other 2 ladies were cool, and this lady was so frazzled. She did not know what to do with herself or with me, and she was just, I think I traumatized her. Anyhow, I went back to my table, and I couldn't stop laughing. It was so freaking funny, and honestly, that day is a gift that keeps on giving because every time I think about it, it just makes me laugh. Now, what you're saying to yourself probably right now is, what if people don't laugh or they're completely unamused? Well, your safety net is to tell them you have 6 months to live. They'll forget about your lame joke, and then they'll just start to feel sorry for you. And they may even donate to your GoFundMe. So make sure you create a GoFundMe ahead of time to cover your tracks. And I don't know why I give this podcast out for free. I should be charging y'all for all this great advice. All right, so go on little adventures and make sure that you do what you love. And if you love something nerdy, here's the deal. Who cares? Own it. That's part of singing your song, right? I mean, don't deprive yourself of things that you love because, number 1, you love them. But number 2, you won't find your people who are into that stuff too. Now, I will say, with this advice, there is a time and place for everything. I knew a guy in LA who, on his first date, pulls out his phone and starts showing race car videos to his date. Now, fellas, heed my advice. This is something that you're probably going to want to hold on to till after you have your 3rd or 4th child with a woman. All right. So nerd out on what you love and also compliment people when they deserve it. Do it. Compliment people as long as it's genuine, because when you compliment people, you make someone's day and you are going to feel a rush from that. Now, if you don't feel a rush, do things that do give you a rush, even if it's shoplifting. Now, back on the topic of complimenting people, do not be afraid to go and talk to strangers. 90% of the people actually want to be approached, right? There is 10% that doesn't, but that's a pretty good numbers game to me. Now, as you do, you need to feel out people's energy like you would with a dog. Is this a friendly dog? Is this a taxidermy dog? What am I looking at right now? Now, I know that a lot of y'all are like, this dude is an extrovert, and all he's doing is speaking from an extrovert's perspective. And yes, you are right. So here's my tip for introverts. For introverts, it's the same advice. Think about what makes you come alive, like knitting. Just kidding. I love introverts. They let me do all the talking, and I appreciate that so much. But real talk, find your thing, and the advice is the same, which is you do you. Okay, so one thing in our modern world that I have to share to prevent you from living a life of quiet desperation is don't get into things that are complete time sucks. And I'm guilty of this myself. I mean, a few days ago, I read 6 too many basketball articles. I've watched too many arguments on who's the GOAT, Jordan or LeBron. I spent too much time on social media. And this is something I need to work on, but it's something that is the modern struggle. And part of singing your song is not wasting your time on the internet. Now, one more way that I want to say that singing your song in life and living big on a daily basis is to love big. Don't love medium, don't love small, love big. The bigger you love, the bigger you get love back, and also the bigger you live. You already know this, but it's a reminder for you for your daily living. All right, let me go ahead and wrap up the first part, and then we'll keep moving. Yo, it's something that is nice. I'm talking about the good life. I'm talking about the things that you want to sing. I'm talking about the song up in your heart. And that's what I'm saying. That is the start of the goodness that you're going to bring by being a person that sees yourself up on the screen. That's what I'm saying. What should be seen? You are the star of the freaking show. So basically, you got to go after and capture your dreams and basically understand you got to just chase things that bring you joy. Basically, what I'm saying is make some noise and just come through and just see what makes you come alive, and then you will arrive to a conclusion. You got to be moving and go and do that. And basically, that's a wrap. And that's what I'm saying. Nothing but facts, true to yourself. That is what's felt. Basically, what I'm saying, you just got to hold on to the joy and just spread it. And that's what I'm saying. You got to let it out like the song that you be singing, and then it will come through. You don't just bring in a whole bunch of rhymes. And that's how it go. And that's what I said, up in the flow. All right. So moving on to part 2 of this episode. Beyond just having good days, what about big picture stuff? Well, the way we get there is to ask yourself, what are the things that you say to yourself that would be really cool to do? So basically, what's on your bucket list, right? And I myself had youth motivational speaking on my bucket list years before I did it. And eventually I did do it. And the reason I did do it, and I wish I had done it sooner, but the reason why I did do it is because it was on my list of wouldn't it be cool to do this one day? And I challenge you for the things that you say one day and someday, maybe you even do them today. And that sounds very daunting, but the way you do it is you break down these big goals into smaller steps. And then you do daily tasks that feed the big goals and feed the dream. Now, some of you aren't sure what the dream is or what your passion is or what you should be working towards. If that's the case, maybe you should become a crypto bro or sis. Actually, don't do that. But what you should do is you should tap into your values of who you are. That will help you figure out a lot of where you should go. Now, I'm going to recommend exercises from a book called Designing Your Life, because that book should be read by every single person who is looking to figure out their life. That's a hill I'm willing to die on. And real talk, pick up Designing Your Life. And as you do, there's this one writing exercise where you look into your life view and you do a reflection on your view on life. And another exercise where you do the same thing, but on work. And both these exercises are very revealing on what you should be doing with yourself long term. Another exercise in that book is called Minding the Mountaintop, where you do a personal reflection in your work and also in your life on times when you felt fully alive. Now, all of the exercises have worksheets to them, and they are all free on their website. And I'll make sure to link that in the show notes. Another book I recommend picking up is a book called Pivot by Jenny Blake. It's definitely inspired by Designing Your Life, but it is a book that's more on the nuts and bolts of pivoting out of something and into something else. So 2 of the great exercises from that book are the writing exercise of describing your ideal day and also making a list of things you're most proud of. I came up with 2 things on my list, which are my biceps and my triceps. Now, as I share these books are very helpful in supporting us, but also we need people and we also need environments. And that's what you got to do is find those people and find those environments of things that you should be doing to help you to sing your song and to help you to live a meaningful life. And particularly when it comes to people to surround yourself with, I think that is the most important thing. find people who are on your journey, who are on a journey, who inspire you and help you to level up in your life. And if you do that, I think that'll make a huge difference for you in your life. Now, one thing I will say about all of the things that I talk about on this podcast is a lot of it's your life. It's about, chasing your dreams. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. And those are all true things. But the more I think about it, the more I am on this journey, the more I realize that you don't do this alone. You do this in community. You do this within friendships. You do this with people who are like-minded, who are on a similar journey as you, and who are trying to sing their songs themselves. And so I challenge you, if nothing else, continue to look around and see who it is that you can surround yourself with that helps you to become the best version of yourself. And of course, nobody will do the work for you. Of course, at the end of the day, it all is on you. But the more I live and the more advice I get from people, the more I realize you do need a team of people around you who you are trying to become like, who you are inspired by, and who make you a better version of yourself. And hopefully you do the same towards them. Now, some of these people might already be in your life, but some of them you will meet on your journey as you go and sing your song and as you pursue the good life. And as a person who has been on this journey, I feel you. I know that it's not easy. I know that it's a struggle. But at the end of the day, I feel like there's no other way to live. And as a person with my fair share of regrets, although I'm working really hard on getting past any regrets that I have in my life, work in progress over here, I feel like you and I aren't that different. So I'm going to share, here's what I think I know about you. I think you have things that you're scared of attempting for various reasons. And these reasons sound super understandable and reasonable in your own head. I've been there, and in some ways I still am. But if you go after these things, you know that they can open up your life greatly. I think there are situations that you're playing small in that you want to play bigger in. And I'm pretty positive you want to feel more alive every day. So instead of being like most people and leading a quiet life of desperation and dying with your song still in you, I challenge you to live a loud life of joy and to sing your song to the world while you're still here, so that when the person you could have been meets the person you are becoming, there will be a cause for celebration. All right, that's the end of the episode. I know I've dropped a ton of information there. One thing I'd recommend doing is picking a couple of the exercises or the actions mentioned in this episode and just start there. And I'll make sure to put the key points in the show notes so that you can always come back to them at a later date. If you're new here, don't forget to hit the follow button so you don't miss future episodes. And if you've been listening, please leave a comment on Spotify, or you can leave a rating and review on Apple Podcast. That helps out significantly to get good guests and also to spread the word. Here's a recent review by Sopa de Caracolito. The perfect balance between education and entertainment. Kim Young delivers absolute value in a very entertaining way. I absolutely love the podcast. Thank you so much for your kind words, Sopa. I really appreciate them, and I'm glad you're enjoying this podcast. All right, so that's a wrap for this episode. I want to give a quick shout out to my dude, Siraj Rhett, who made the instrumental for this podcast. And shout out to all the creators who have impacted this podcast with the books they've written, with all of the awesome knowledge they've dropped. I'm super grateful for your work. And I'm also super grateful for the communities that I've been in who have helped me to open my voice up and to sing my song. All right, so that's all I got for now. This is Your One Life. I'm Kim Young Kim. I hope you have a great day, a great week, and until next time, peace.